All right, we are live, and so here's what I got, man. You heard what happened, right?
Yeah, it was stanky.
Yeah. So, man, as of right now, it's not great. They're expecting him to be in the hospital for 2 to 3 months. So, um, yeah, all I know is my buddy Kenny asked me that they're gonna. I don't think this is gonna be my video, but they're trying to boost traction, and there's a bidding website. I think him, Charles Whited, some other Travis Burns are putting up some choke canyon trips,
Yeah.
and so I think they're just trying to raise money for whatever's going on with them. I'll try to find out more, but yeah, I know we were going to do some other stuff, but yeah, we'll kind of touch back on that somewhere down the line in the next couple of days. But if y'all don't know Stanky, Stanky's a buddy of ours that we okay. So I get some really weird messages every once in a while. Like I guess Hallman probably gets them too, right? And and I get them like on Instagram, Facebook, because you can just like write stuff, and I try to like respond to most of them. I really do. And I get this one from Stanky, it's guide service, and I'm like, Stanky's guides, like, what is this about? Like he kind of caught me with the name, right? So this goes on for a couple weeks. I get a random message or something here and there, and I'm kind of interested with this, like this Stanky guy, right? Well, anyways, we end up going down to choke, me and you last year, whatever, Andrew and Jason, and I can't remember if this is before or after. Oh yeah, this is before this. He asked me to fish. I had fished a tournament with Phil Marks right before all this had gone down, and we came in second on at LBJ. And so I don't know when it was, like months later, he asked me, or something happened, maybe the next year, I can't remember. He asked me to fish this tournament on LBJ. I'm like, man, look, I kind of did that with my boss at the time, and it was Phil, and like it was the first and only tournament me and him ever got to fish together, and it was awesome, man. I'll never forget it. And I'm like, I don't know if I feel like, I don't know if I just want to go randomly fish a tournament with him. Anyways, so I tell him no. He ends up fishing the tournament with a 15-year-old kid and wins bass champs, like 20 grand. And I'm like, I was like, what? And so I was like, oh, that's all right, man, because I would have messed him up, guaranteed. I wouldn't have messed him up. So, anyways, fast forward, it's February, and we're going down there, and we're in the room that night at the where were we staying at, Hallman?
It was down there in Choke Canyon. We were just down there to fun fish for.
Yeah, but what was anyways, that place we were staying at? It's got little cabins, right?
Oh, we did video on it too, and I don't even remember.
Yeah, I forget. Everyone stays there. Well, anyways, I'm with Jason, and we're sitting there, and it's like late. We got there late at night. It's dark, and I was like, man, I wonder if I should text Stanky, right? I wonder if I should like see what he's up to. And I think I Instagram messaged him. I don't even think I had his phone number, right? So I was like, hey, Stank, what's going on? Like, man, we down here in Choke, your neck of the woods, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, are you right next to me? I was like, what? He's like, I'm in a cabin right next to some guys. And there's like 16 cabins right there, right? He's like, I'm in a cabin. I think it's you. And I'm like, me and Jason look at each other like, what? And so we walk outside, and it's Stanky. And man, what a 4 or 5 days with those Stanky, man. Like it was awesome. He's a trip. Yeah. But I ended up met him down there this past year when me and Brent went down there, and I fished a tournament with him this year. And me and him got to be really good friends. He's just a different dude. If you don't know him, he pitched for the Astros for a while. He fishes with Josh Beckett. They won a bass champs on Ivy this year. Just a funny guy. Well, anyways, yeah, I got a text message the other day, a couple of days ago saying he had a stroke, and so I haven't. Um, I can kind of talk to him through there. I know his daughter is kind of relaying some stuff on Facebook. So, anyways, we'll get back to him in a little bit. Like I'm gonna kind of go over some stuff. They're trying to do a little fundraiser. I don't know how long he's gonna be. I think they had to life flight him to Austin, and so yeah, I'm still getting the details. But anyways, that's we'll try to set up something because I need to.
Yeah, he's got his daughter set up an account too, the GoFundMe account. She's got one of those set up for the family, and I posted it on my social media the other day.
Yeah. Okay. I'm still, like I said, I'm still trying to get it all.
You can put it in the bottom, the link to it if you want to, in the bottom
of this.
Yeah.
I don't even know how.
Well, when you're done, it's over. Yes,
oh, okay. So, anyways, this ain't gonna be a show. Like we just kind of wanted to throw that out there. Man, like I said, Hackney. So I just saw that, and the reason I put that up there is like Hackney knows him. Hackney's gone, like he knows Zona, he knows Hackney real well. He goes hunting with Hackney. He's just he's one of those guys that he's just a weird dude in the sense of, not in an interesting way, in the fact of, man, you ain't never know who he's gonna who he knows. The fact that him and Josh Beckett, like he goes fishing with Beckett all the time, is pretty cool.
Yeah, so, he's a great guy, man. He's real outgoing, so everybody knows him. He's very easy to be around.
Yeah, we play just to get. What were we playing? Cornhole or whatever out there, and it was just, I've never seen a guy play cornhole overhand. He throws them overhand. Freaking, they had music going on. I mean, he freaking was out there dancing. I mean, it was awesome.
I wish I could remember the name of that place. That place was awesome, dude.
It's something like Choke Canyon, whatever.
Something Bass Buster Inn or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, that used to be what Rayburn was. But look, man. So here we'll get. So I was thinking, normally we wait for all these questions, right? Because I like to do live when it's just fishing questions, or it don't even have to be fishing questions. I mean, in the sense of, it can just be, they get going everywhere. I don't even know who are they talking.
You have to put them up there because I can't see.
Well, I know. Well, I can't figure out. Hold on. Well, because I got this one. Oh, because it was about the Randy Blockett fans. So, yeah, what Hornets nest we kicking? I don't know. I don't know what we're doing. And then it got into. Okay, so it got into that, and then all of a sudden it got into, has Hallman got a big sack on LBJ with LBJ, whatever. And they got to track. Then they're talking about silver moons. Silver minnows, whatever. And then
no. I've never even been to LBJ, so I've never thrown an LBJ on LBJ.
Yeah. So then I got this. God dang it. It keeps on moving on me. Hold on. Oh, okay. That must have been, okay, now I know. Yeah, that must have been him. So he, like, you've been to Choke, right? You got to drive back when the water comes up, like you got to go back in the sticks. I've almost got stuck back there with him. Yeah, he, like, you remember that boat too, man. He just freaking just throw it. Choke. If y'all never been to Choke, the first time I went to Choke, Ray Roberts is like this. There's a couple, any of those you got them big nasty freaking trees. Yeah. Them that's we size trees on Falcon or any of them cedar trees. Golly, they will just scratch your boat up like crazy.
And yeah, those guys that guide there in those places like where Stanky's at in there at Choke, dude, their boat's basically a bulldozer or an army tank. That's how they use it. They just go plowing through stuff because it's how they get around every day.
Yeah, it's pretty cool down there. Hold on. Okay, I got to answer. You didn't miss anything. Where is hold on. I gotta get where was Nick? Hey Nick, yeah. I got it. Nick, I got you covered. That's all I'm gonna say. Nick knows what I'm talking about. Nick, I got you covered. Okay. But hold on, where was this?
I don't know why I can't see him. I'm trying to.
Oh, this one. So none of us are going.
I thought maybe I might.
No, what? Okay.
I was looking at my calendar the other day. I ain't going at all.
Yeah, me and Blake are going. Actually,
yeah. It's not a bad place to go. I mean, it's not a bad place to go practice to find one, but
no, I mean, I don't think it's too far from me either. I think it's like an hour and a half.
Yeah.
I think the last time I fished it though was the last time an open was there. So I mean, we're talking 5, 6. I don't know.
Yeah.
It was like the last when they started going there. I stopped. It was the last time. Like once we went there that one time, I was like, I'm not going there again because I was like that. I didn't like that bass deal. I'm not getting into that tonight. We're not going to go into that.
Maybe 2015 or 2014 was the last time I was there. So it's been like 7 or 8 years since I've been there. Click him up there so I can see him.
Yeah. Well, hold on. So I want to talk about this. So hold on. They changed the rule about paying up on all dirt. So far, no, they haven't changed it. So I'm not going to get into this. I really wish you hadn't asked me that question because I got really, really mad today talking on the phone with the tournament director. Not at him, at the fishermen that are fishing this, and I don't care if I make any of them mad. It is. I don't know why anyone personally would be a tournament director or try to put on a trail where you're trying to do something so good. So what pisses me off is that there's a group of anglers that want this thing so bad, me included. They want this thing like crazy, and we're trying to bend over backwards. When I say we, we're going out of our way. We're calling people. We're letting people know we're doing. There's about 8 to 10 of us that are absolutely doing everything we possibly can to make this thing work. And then there's another group that could care less about doing anything. Like they don't even think they should eat. Like they don't even want to try to make it any better. They want everything there can be. Like they want all the money, they want everything. They want it to be this awesome spec. And then if you ask them for one, hey, could you make one phone call to maybe like one angler and try to maybe recruit someone or see if they want to fish this thing? I ain't doing that. I didn't sign up to market people. You should be doing that. I'm like, there's a group of us that have gotten a lot of people interested in this thing. And then there's another group that is just worthless. They've sent out freaking emails trying to ask about certain things. And that's what this is about. We were trying to figure out if there was a way to do this. Guys are complaining. I mean, it's just really, really sad that they're trying. It's for once they're trying to do all this money. There's guys been arguing about the money situation on this. And I'm like, it's a 95% payback and 100% payback on the side pot. And then they're giving away $25,000 from sponsor money, which you've never heard of a tournament ever in its existence ever say, hey, we got sponsor money and we're not going to keep it. We're going to shell that out to Angler of the Year at the end of the year. They're doing all this, and you got these guys that are just horrible. So no, as of right now, we're not going to let guys jackpot. There's some things that are being talked about. I don't really know them all yet. I'm trying to, if you ask people their opinions, all they do is say what's best for them. They don't actually say what's best for the trail. It's been. Don't get me off on that. I already went off.
Right, I agree.
I haven't even read this.
I finally figured out how to read them. I got to them finally.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I was going to answer one of them since you were reading.
I don't know what that was.
I'll talk a little bit about the boats because I just dropped a video on that, and they were asking
what boats.
They were wanting to know about the boat deals at the pros.
Where was that at?
Guessing the pros.
I'll keep looking.
Yeah, I keep looking for some other stuff, but um,
Oh,
man,
there it is.
most of them, um, most of them. I mean, and this even includes a lot of Elite Series guys and MLF pros. Most of the boat deals are honestly, and it depends on the manufacturer that you're connected with. Skeeter does a lot of in-house stuff for their guys, and they get their boats directly from the factory. They used to, and I don't know because I'm not there anymore. Todd might be able to speak a little bit more openly about it, but they used to do a lot of memo deals. We call them balloon notes, where um, you get the boat and they carry the note basically for a year, and you have to pay for it. Now they will not let you order a new boat until that boat's paid for, and you're still paying for it, boat and motor. And most of the pricing deductions is it's a small percentage. It's not anything like what you guys think. It's not free boats by no damn mean. It's not 50% off by no damn mean. Um, most of it's just about a deep enough discount to where maybe they can run the boat for 9 months and hopefully sell it and somewhat get out without losing too much, break even, you know.
That's not I'll comment real quick. That what you're breaking even on a lot of time is what you put on the boat.
Yeah, and it's not even that. It's you
Know
know,
what I'm saying? Like power poles, like you have if you don't have deals with all those other things, then there's no way you could get out of a boat.
yeah, but there's more to it than even that. So like
I
today,
know.
I had to do all my tags, sales tax, and everything on my new Phoenix. It's $2,600, dude, that I gave the state of Oklahoma, and there's no getting out of that.
Mm-mm.
I'm running Phoenix numbers. I mean, I have to pay that, and so that 2,600 goes right on top of what. So, like I say, at the end of the year, man, it's not. That's why I look.
And,
And I mean, even the guys that are selling them back. So, like, is it discounted? But once it's all said and done, dude, it's not ten
and
thousand less than a brand new one, but it's loaded out. So maybe whatever the grass and stuff are. But anyway, you guys want to know, and I'm
well,
being honest with you.
so here's another thing too is the memo deal. Um, it was told to me by I think I can say this from Randy Qualls with Legend. He said memo deals, it's whatever you want to do. And he said, but I'm going to tell you one thing. He goes, I is running a business. He's like, the interest is going to someone.
Yeah.
And what he meant by that is if you don't do the memo, if they offer you a memo deal, whatever it is,
Yeah.
they are including what they have to pay interest on. So he's like, you can either pay $3,000 more for a memo deal, and yes, you don't have to pay for it, or we can take $3,000 off, and we can get and now you can have it, and you can pay monthly balloon note payments, which will come up to say you can get them for like $450, and so your interest is like $250 a month, and you add all that up at the end of the year, and you're around $3,000, right? So either way, like memo, you think, oh, I'm not having to pay on this. Well, you're still having to pay on the back end of it.
I'll
So
say this too. The memo deals used to be so like in the early 2000s and stuff. The memo deals were more of a standard. Now, when I'm talking about these, this isn't open guys and Coaster or Toyota guys. I'm talking about the guys fishing on the top tours. Um, they were more standard memo deals then, but dude, those things have gone. 2008 when the market changed, a lot of these manufacturers changed. A lot of the memo deals even went away. Um, some of the young guys, the really young guys, I mean, dude, that's tough to go get a loan on a boat that costs that much. I mean, you guys know that, and you're already stretched thin and trying to run and live off credit cards. Um, that's the reality. But
and most banks, a lot of banks don't like, um, from what I've seen is it'll change depending on the bank, and banks don't like giving out boat loans for certain reasons because 99% of most boat loans, you're going to lose on that because they don't care that you're a professional bass. They just look at it. A bank looks at this and goes, this guy wants a boat and we're going to loan this guy out for this. Like that thing is going to lose money. And you better have a pretty good deal with a banker. And when I did it, they even had like a price point of where they wanted to get you at. So like I would still put a down payment down to get to that point. Now I've been doing it for so many years and never missed a payment and did good that like it's not even like he'll go to bat for me with any bank, even if they change the process of how it's going. He's like, don't worry about it. But dude, it's taken me years to get there, and I kind of got in before when it was okay, you know, like and then every year you're like, okay, you're good, but it hasn't been, you know, it's tough.
I don't understand Jeff Lewis' question. What kind of deals repoing Yamahas and Mercuries? Repo, like we going and taking somebody's motor back? I don't get that.
Yeah, I was just talking. Yeah. I wasn't even looking. I was just talking because that was a pretty good. I like the whole.
Did you ever make a video of the Toyota Championship last year, Todd?
No.
Okay, there was just a question on there, but I didn't know if you did or didn't. I didn't make one on Grand last year at the end of the year.
What I'm doing right now is for my, and it's funny. I don't know who asked that. I'll get down there and to a deal. I went and looked at it the other day. I realized I don't have day 3 on there because I remember it raining, so like it was such nasty weather. No, and so I don't have day 3, although day 3 wasn't that great for me, for none of us really, except the guy who won it. The practice stuff isn't really that good on there either, but I am going to try to do a little bit of a series like that Deepwater series. It might be like a quick Deepwater series, but I'll be honest, I was only going to do it for my private group because it wasn't all on there, and I was going to give them something. I might do it one day for the open deal, but that was my next. I was going to make that and put it in my private group for them. I really wish I'd had all the practice stuff on there because my first day of practice, that was one of those ones that when it progressed, when I caught him in practice on day 1 was like the whole deal with that was cool because like I wanted to talk about how I got up and I started driving down this lake of Pickwick, which I've only been on like once for a couple hours. And I remember just driving, and this is so hard, you'll know, is when you start driving on a lake you've never been on. And I didn't know where grass was. I didn't know anything. And I remember just going, okay, I'm going to drive north. And from wherever we put in at, I drive for like 15 minutes, which is kind of a long time when you're looking over going, God, I want to fish that. God, I want to fish that. And I just nope. And I just told myself, just keep going, just keep going, just keep going. And I went I guarantee you every mile I wanted to stop. And then all of a sudden I kind of get somewhere and I'm like, okay. And I don't know the water levels and stuff like that. So I start island and I'm like 1 foot, you know, when I was right off the channel and I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it dropped. I just went to the bank. Anyways, long story short, when I did all that, I finally started, you know, I kind of got into some and started catching them. But then by the end of the day, I think my first day I shook off like 40. Like I figured them out, and a lot of them were on top waters and swim. It was like I had dialed it in, and I didn't catch any fish like that in the tournament because it was so dead calm and sunny on practice day, and I figured out how to catch them. That actually the other days I had to kind of relearn how to catch them. But I did, luckily, and I think one of those times what my best spot, I had like 2 bites. It was horrible. It was like my worst spot I went to, but I saw 1 or 2, and I ended up catching most of my fish there. And I figured it out like late in the day on day 1. I went through there and caught like 1 or 2, and then day 2 I crushed them there. So, but yeah, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that series. I don't think I have all of it on there.
Here's a good question that I think both of you and I need to touch on that I think a lot of guys have, or they assume things. Bobby Swain asked, do you guys have second jobs or make your living strictly fishing and sponsor money? Just curious. So I'll start because Todd and I are in 2 different situations. Todd's actually working. So I've done a lot of things through the years. The first 15 years I was a plumber. And then through 2006 through about 2011, I did nothing but fish. And that's while I was on the Elite Series. Fish and sponsors. In 2011, though, I came back home and took a job as a petroleum landman and worked for 7 or 8 years in an office there in Norman. And it kind of allowed me to work and fish. And then somewhere through that 7 or 8 years took me into 16, 17, 18. So I won both FLW Tour events and was fishing the FLW Tour with a full-time job as a landman. Now they allowed me to be off work, and I was an independent contractor. And working as an independent contractor, there's no benefits or anything. And so I did that up until that point. And during all of this time, my wife and I started dabbling in some real estate stuff, commercial real estate, buying and selling and rental property stuff, some shopping centers, some stuff even down in Texas, down in Dallas. And we've done that. And I still dabble in that quite a bit. And so probably 18 after I won the second FLW Tour event, I think is when I quit working. 18 or 19, I quit working for Jeff Miller in the landman deal and just went strictly fishing and the real estate stuff. But I definitely have other things besides just that. Plus, my wife is an attorney, and she's got her own law practice too. So she and I will be married. This is our 25th wedding anniversary this year in September. So we've been together since we were 22 and have 4 kids together. So absolutely 110%. I don't pay my bills off of sponsors and fishing. That's a fact. I've had some good years. But I've had some years that I lost quite a bit of money too. So it goes both ways for me. Now Todd's totally different. He can kind of tell you his setup.
So I've been fishing, I guess, since through high school. And then when I say high school, like I made a lot of money in high school just fishing local tournaments. Got into college, took a back seat for a year or two just because I was working a lot, going to college a lot for like 2 years. And then about my 3rd or 4th year in college, because around that time I kind of took some semesters off and worked. And just a local college job. I mean, I was delivering pizzas and I mean, I just had to like work and stuff. And then I was fishing a lot, but I was only doing it in the summer and a little bit in the springtime. And so I'd make a lot of money there to where I could, still fish and do everything. And then around 2000 and I can't remember when it was actually, 2004 or 5. I was fishing a lot. And then my dad had passed away, and that semester I remember we went and fished, me and Jarrett, and we won a bass and bucks and I take that back. We had won a boat back there in college. I remember in college, like years before that, I won my first boat. And then me and my buddy Jarrett won this tournament on Rayburn. It was my first ever tournament win on Rayburn. We won then we had like 35 pounds. And my old broken boat, it was 9 o'clock. I remember it was a fog delay. We took off at 9. We weighed in at 12 because my tilt and trim wouldn't work, and we were scared to death. So we rolled in with 35 pounds in 3 hours. And like back then, no one had weighed in 30 pounds in like 7 or 8 years. So we won that, and that year just kind of went pretty good. And so I don't know if that was the year that one of them years I just didn't go back to college. So like I would go to college for a semester and then fish. And it was usually in the fall is when I'd go to school because of springtime. And we did so good in the spring. I'm like, man, let me try the summer. And the summer worked out really good. And then the fall, and we kind of won a lot of money in the fall. I'm like, let me try the springtime deal again. And so I ended up just fishing. And I ended up still keeping my job delivering pizzas and managing. I kind of, they liked me so much. I kind of was able to do both. Like they let me have like manager money and drive when I went. And the deal was I kept that job because I could work Monday through Wednesday. And if I wanted to go practice Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, they're like, yeah, we don't care. Like I always showed up for my job. I did everything right. So they were like, hey man, you're like the most consistent guy here anyway. So just do what you want to do. So I did that kind of off and on. But yeah, I'd say 95% of my income was strictly fishing since I was 25 till I was 38. Yeah. I would say maybe sometime around when I was 33 or 4 was the first time I actually got money from a sponsor. And when I would say money, I would say less than probably, when it was all said and done, less than probably 5,000 to 7,000 at the end of the year. So that's why I say 90% of my money was coming from fishing. And it wasn't until I fished the tour that I did get sponsored by Costa, and that kind of did some things. And a little bit before then, I had a royalty stuff. So it wasn't much sponsor money. Like, everyone was like, man, here's what's funny about how people view sponsor money. Like, everyone's like, oh, we're going to pay all your fishing, right? And that's great. Like, don't get me wrong, but if someone just paid all your fishing, all you're really doing is now playing with house money. Like, you still got to go figure out how to go win $40,000 somehow, because most people can make $40,000 in a normal job. Like, that might be even on the low end. So, like, you got to go win $40,000 worth of winnings if everything's paid for, and you're pretty much $40,000 back then was a lot more than it is now. But yeah, I mean, so when someone's like, oh, they're going to pay your entry, they're going to do this or do that, and I was always going, it's not about paying entry fees or paying your gas money. I mean,
yeah, here
10,000 spent is still 10,000 spent, no matter what you like. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They look at it as, oh, we're going to pay this. I'm like, dude, I just look at it as it's $10,000. It doesn't matter if I spend it there on groceries for my family. It's still the exact same.
Here's another bad part of it too. So, like, say you're on the Elite Series, and I'm just using this number because I don't know what they pay now, but when I was there, we were fishing quite a few events. It was like $55,000 just in entry fees. So let's say that you get, and when you're young, if you can get $20,000-$25,000 in sponsorship money, man, you're killing it, and so they pay you in that. But the problem, what a lot of guys don't realize, you made that 25. Guess what? Uncle Sam's got his hand out. They paid you 25. Then you take the taxes out of the 25, put it in your checking account, and then you pay your entry fees with what's left. And then if you get one of those $10,000 checks, guess what? Uncle Sam's standing there again with his hand out again. I mean, it's a double deal. I mean, like, it ain't easy.
Right.
That part's bad. And yeah, I mean, there is some tax write-off there and stuff, and that is true. But let me tell you, when you start writing off tax fishing, it also brings the auditors around. I know I've been audited a couple times through the years. And it's an easy explanation if you've got a good accountant, but they still want to come in and have a meeting because they never heard of fishing. Now they don't have any problem wanting your money whenever you win money, but as soon as you try to write something off, they're like, well, you can't write that off. But anyway.
So I don't even know where that question was. I did get this though. This one I get from people sometimes, and it's I don't know how to say this without sounding a certain way. So maybe y'all will understand this when I say this. Every once in a while, we'll get to a place and they'll go, like, we'll go out there and fish, right? And we'll catch them. And they're like, hey, why don't you do a show on a tough lake where it's tough to get bites? And I go, oh, okay, so do you want a video of me not catching anything? Or, and hear me out, right? Like, they're like, no, I mean, well, you got bit on this lake, so, go to a lake that's tough. And I'm like, well, who's to say there was 20 guys out there that got one bite that day and I got 20, right? And it looks like it was a good lake and it wasn't tough, but I'm like, there was 20 guys out there that didn't get a bite. So either it's impossible to do, right? Unless you go out there. I'm not going to make a video where I go out there and don't catch anything. Then what did I learn? And what would the video be about? It'd be about nothing. So sometimes we are out there and it is tough and we catch 6 fish and it's like, oh, y'all kind of, whatever. But I'm like, it was a tough bite. Like, when we go talk to other people out there, it might have been really phenomenal for some guys. But I'm telling you, we make videos throughout the entire year. These Bassmaster Opens, if you had shown Hallman, and probably even me, because I think I caught like 8 the final day at Ross Barnett, how many fish you catch?
I don't honestly remember. It's been too long.
So 8's not like crushing them, but
No.
if you go look at how many guys didn't catch a limit that day,
Yeah, it was.
2/3 of the field probably didn't catch a limit. I would say that's a pretty tough bite, but then catching 8 probably looked and especially on film, 8 fish kind of carries a long ways.
Yeah.
But I can't. It's if I went to the Red River and caught 20, you're like, well, man, the Red River's fishing good. Well, maybe, or I'd figured out how to catch fish on a tough place. Like we don't always go to tough. All those open lakes, man, they're not bad lakes sometimes, but put 180 guys on there for a week, it's tough.
Dude, I totally agree.
Yeah, I just want to throw that in there. Oh, they were. I don't know where it is. An MJ. Dude, go tell that to Russell Cecil, who's got like 4 or 5 Toyota freaking. He's got 3 Toyota wins, 2 T. I don't even know what that guy's won, dude. So like, no, man, I fished with a lot of guys that like I fished the TXTTs with Brent Broussard this year. Brent's won. He's coming like top 10 in the Toyotas like every single time he fishes them. He's won a TXTT. He's won a TTO. He's won. This is all without me. I mean, him and Kelly, I can't tell you how many they've won together. I mean, there's some dudes that freaking I think when you find most guys, it's a 50-50 deal.
Scalus Jr. said, for every guy saying this is the greatest lake ever, there's a guy saying this is the worst lake ever.
That is true.
We went to, when we got done at Oneida, the day before the elites were going to start, we had a day off there, and Panger, I did not want to go. I was in a bad mood. And Panger and Upshaw talked me into going up to Thousand Islands, St. Lawrence, whatever you want to call it, the Mecca where they just crushed all those fish. And basically, I mean, I'm going up there to fish for like 3 hours. And I've got Grayson in the boat with me, my 12-year-old, and Andrew and Matt are in the boat together. And I mean, I can't catch anything. I'm going around. They're telling me they're on beds, and I'm running around with my trolling motor on high and looking for these fish. I mean, I find a couple little ones, and I let Grayson catch them, but that's funny that he said that, because then when I ran into him about 3 hours later, they're like, what do you think? It's pretty good, isn't it? I'm like, dude, this place sucks. I'm loading up. But, when you show up on some place you've never even seen, you got like 4 hours to fish on a great lake. It wasn't fast for me. I'll tell you that.
Right. I'm just going to I don't know. I throw the big one all the time. I throw the big one like 99% of the time. That's how easy it is for me to decide. So many people like the small one. I just don't. I haven't thrown the small one all year. So how about that?
Nick Miller, do I still talk to the Diffees much? And Chad, yeah. That house that Watson and I bought up on Grand's actually like basically next door to John Diffee, Chad's dad. And Chad's just up the hill. And then, of course, Wayne's down the street. Wayne's got a girlfriend these days, and he's like a bucket rut. He's not fishing as much. But, yeah, I still talk to him quite a bit.
Yeah, what was this about? I think I heard about this. Was that like a couple of weeks ago?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Huh?
Was what 3 weeks ago?
Question.
I didn't see it. What question are we looking at?
It's on the screen.
I'm sorry. I had gone. First of all, I didn't even know it existed. And second of all, it's probably going to be in the next 2 months. And my September and October is horrendous. Like I'm home for like 3 days in the month of September. And then I'm home like 3 or 4 days in October. And then throw in the 1 or 2 that I might be home on. Man, I've got OU season tickets, and there's only 6 games, and I'm only going to be home at like 3 of them, and that's pushing it. No. But I would love to be up there and do it. Like if it was this weekend and I had, 2 weeks before and 2 weeks after, I'd have done it. Todd and I'd have probably jumped in it. We've talked about fishing some of that stuff.
I know, God. We just keep on missing, like,
Nichols team tournaments are great. I mean, they pay wonderful.
This is a great comment because he's actually 1,000% right. They're not hard to catch on the Red River. It's just hard going and finding one.
I agree with that.
He's 100% like that's a great. So yes, it depends on what you consider tough. It's hard to get bit out there, but you're right. There are certain lakes in the country that it's hard to get them to bite. This is not one of them. It's just hard to find one. the elusive Red River bass.
Ordinary Angler posted 2 days on the red. It's not very good. I bet it is hotter as Hades down there right now.
Oh, so hey, so my daughter has these raffle ticket things, and just for soccer, they're trying to raise money because traveling, all this stuff, and she's learning how to do that. So I was like, oh, I'll help you out and post it. Anyways, I was like, well, the raffle's like this 70-30 split. So like someone's probably going to win 5,000 or 6,000. I don't know what it is. It's a lot. It's going to be a lot of money because it's the whole team selling like 30, 40, 50 of them. They're like $10 a piece. Anyways, I was like, well, I'm going to throw in to where I was like, okay, if someone, I don't know who's going to be the winner, but I put in there whoever sells the most on my like Instagram or Facebook, whoever that is, I put on a little deal of I gave away 2 shallow hybrid hunters, which no one has any in the country. I'm going to be giving those away. I think a pop and perk. I don't know, probably 100. Either way, if you win that thing, you'll probably break even on the deal if you don't win, because I think I got like 10 baits on there or something. So that's what that was for. Oh, there it is. You got it. This is.
I do use backing on my line. There's a question on there about that.
Oh, like, dude, I'm so far behind. I think we did this. I'll catch up. Go ahead on that one. Who'd you pick last night?
Tom Brady. Before we started the show, I said Tom Brady win. I don't remember who I picked.
Like this one, that Matthew, that's what we kind of did the other time. I'm trying to catch up. When we broke all that stuff down, when I did it, it wasn't all there. I even said it. I said, because not that some of it's not fair, because I saw another guy ask on here about I'm in the same dilemma of having an old boat compared to like breaking down and getting a new boat. What I'll tell you about that is when it happened for me, it couldn't have happened to like, dude, I've had a lot of things go my way, right? And one of the things that went my way was that I won a legend. Like it was like the 3rd or 4th. I don't know. We won another boat, me and Brent, and it was a legend, and it was like a 21-foot legend. Like it was a nice boat, like a boat. A lot of times you win boats and they're 18-footers with a 150, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if you're wanting to fish for a living, that's not a boat you can go out there and on Rayburn and get away with. Like you'll die out there sometimes in some of them waves. So anyways, we won that boat, and I think all I had to do was upgrade a 225 to a 250. But when we got it, Legend was kind of just starting, so they had started this incentive program. Well, the incentive program was paying $10,000 if you had a brand new boat, if you won a tournament, and like $6,000 if you had, I think, a 1 year and older boat or something, and then like $1,000 for something else. Anyways, so this is the problem you're going to run into with the stuff about all the. I didn't put the incentives in there because it depends on what you're running, right? So my Legend incentive was better than most other incentives. Now I also won a Toyota or 2 in there, right? And the Toyota, if you ran a Ranger back then, you were getting a brand new Ranger. So you were winning first place prize and a Ranger. So I missed out on 2 Rangers at the same time. Then they also paid $2,000 for BFLs, but yet I would make $6,000 to $10,000 off of a BFL for a Legend because it wasn't the same. So it was like these weird toss-ups, right? What I'll say about all that is this. All those incentives are for new things. And so you want to talk about one thing, it's 100% the wealthier get wealthier. And because that's what, so when it's like you had to pay the money. And if you thought you were going to get paid off if you won. But I remember going, man, it was cool when it finally happened for me, when I finally had some like brand new stuff after years and years. I'm talking about 6, 7, 8. Well, the boat was 10. Yeah, it was kind of weird going, man, now that I got this, look at all these great incentives I get. But it kind of sucks that you have to go buy something that expensive to get it. And you know, but I didn't put that on there, but I do have that video of you know, of what I actually made. I think I did it of like 2 or 3 years ago. It's not as much as it used to be. I can tell you that it was different 10 years ago. Me and Chris McCall talked the other day, and we were talking about how you can make a living back home around our state fishing, and I don't think it's possible anymore. I don't think you can do it. That it's all gone downhill, which leads me back to the point of that TTO deal where it all big circle about all these guys wanting these, fish these horrible tournaments. We brought it around something that you can make some money at, and it's like pulling teeth with those guys. Sorry, I don't want to get back on that again. Oh, this is a good one. Go ahead.
Doing the legend money. I agree with them. I remember back in the day, and I was like, dude, you're going to bankrupt that boat company.
Dude, it didn't. Dude, they didn't. They thought it was kind of fun. Like, so the one that hurt them the worst was in February. I'd won a Bass and Bucks by myself. So Jason, we had a Toyota event the year before, and me and Jason fished it. We're going to fish it. And I ended up going to there's a coast on Amstead. I came in second on Amstead or something like that. He fished it by himself and won it. The next year on the exact same weekend, he couldn't fish because of a wedding or something. I went and fished it. And this is like 300 boats.
Yeah.
Team event. And I won it like the same weekend. And so I won like that, and I won whatever it was, like 15 grand, and then another 10 grand on top of it with Legend. So it was a freaking $25,000 payday. Is freaking, huge. Well, then that was in February. In March, I went on a run. I don't know if it was that. I think it was the same March where I won a BFL, a Bass Champs, and then a Bassmaster Weekend Series 3 weeks in a row. And it was like, it was either 6 grand. I don't know if it was 6 grand or 10 grand, but it was like 6 grand, 6 grand, 6 grand. Well, that first 6 grand, they were happy to do. Like, hey, take these pictures. I'm just telling you, that next 3, dude, they were like, it was a bad ordeal. I'll just put it to you that way. They started checking the like, you had to have this logo. You had to have this logo of Legend. It had to be like 10 and they were like measuring it. I mean, they were like trying to figure out every which way they could get out of paying. And that's all I'm going to say. It ended up working out all right, but it was not the same enthusiasm.
That's what I'm going to answer two questions with that one deal. What you just said, Scott had asked earlier when he was on the boat deal, and we talked about it, and then he wanted to know about the motors and where they combine and this and that and the other, and then I guess he's thinking the motor deals must be really good or something, and that's why the guys are getting their boats so cheap or whatever. But it's not. And he's like, well, why are the jerseys? Everybody's jerseys logos. This is the biggest thing on there. What Todd's talking about right now, how they were measuring his shirt. Dude, it's for those incentive programs. That's
yeah. So, and I can talk about Ranger now. So Ranger, if you're going to be Ranger Cup, you had to have like a Ranger Cup thing right here. You had to have Ranger had to be. So if you notice, you have usually some ones like this, right? And then you'll see these small ones. Well, Ranger, I think, had to be the highest one on your shoulder. And then I think you had to have Ranger on your back or something like that. So you had to have Ranger and you had to have, like I said, the Ranger Cup on one of the sleeves. And if you didn't wear the Ranger jersey on video the final day, or if you wouldn't get it. So, I mean, which is all fine and good, but like there's a lot of those things where you better have it big and high or you're not getting paid.
I want to go back to one here about, I'd wondered, it was about the Ranger guys. Where was it at? What happened with a ton of the guys leaving Ranger a couple of years back? And then it was followed up with Alfred saying, yeah, I've wondered that a lot. Ranger cut a whole bunch of people, and a lot of it, and not a lot of it made sense. It didn't have anything to do with any of the individuals. Todd was running a Ranger at the time. It was a marketing strategy by Johnny Morris and Bass Pro. So if you guys remember last year's when they had that $1 million weekend tournament, if you owned one of Johnny's boats, and they had them all over the country, and then they had the $1 million championship, and then those two college kids won basically $1 million, I think, up at Table Rock. I don't remember exactly how much they won, but it was a lot. And he made a big show of it and brought everything up there to his place. And that's basically what it was. I mean, he took a marketing strategy of money and just moved it from pro fishing, sponsoring anglers in those boats to, putting on that tournament. I mean, I don't know how else you could explain it, because you had a bunch of money leave here and it moved here, and they're both in marketing. So it wasn't anything against anybody in particular. And a lot changed in house too with the people that worked at Ranger as well. Todd knows a lot more about that because he worked with them.
I can do a whole live deal on that later on that, because, and I don't think it's saying anything bad, but yeah, there was a reason we all left. We left. Like, I'm not saying that almost all the deals got cut, but it wouldn't have mattered. I could have cared less what they would have. I don't care about any of that stuff. I was going to leave for this because I knew what was about to happen, and it was starting to happen anyways within the company. And you can't look up and see all these people that have been in Ranger for 20 years just start leaving, all of them. Like, if you look up there now, I guarantee you, I couldn't tell you a single person that I know at Ranger anymore. And it started with the people that worked there. It started with that. It started with, I got to hang around. I was with Scott. All I'll say is with Scott Martin. I was with Scott Martin fishing the opens, and we got to talk like every day about it. I remember vividly, me and Scott for like an hour outside while we were rigging up, just talked about it, about where we saw where it was going. We kind of had an idea of where it was going, and all of us talked. And so we could see the writing on the wall, and it was very obvious, and it was time to make a move. And I don't think it's worked out. I don't know. When I say I don't know if it's worked out that well for him, I don't know if it's worked out that well for Ranger. His overall plan, Johnny's plan, might work out great for him.
Yeah, it might.
But yeah, it might have. But I mean, for guys in the Ranger, I want to talk about this. I'm gonna say one thing, and I'm gonna move on. Do I want to say this? Yeah, I'll say it. Here's what I'll say about, not so much about with the money in the industry. The money in the industry, so listen, the elites aren't the pinnacle of the sport. It's not. There's no pinnacle of the sport anymore, because the elites were the pinnacle of the sport, because the elites, that was the only thing, that was the main thing for like, there was nothing more you could get to. It's like it was like Major League Baseball or NBA, all that stuff. There was one of them, and that was the best. And it's not, there's tons of them now. There's professional sports, bass fishing everywhere. So I'm not saying that the elites aren't the pinnacle. What I'm saying is when you have multiple things and it keeps spreading out, it's just like all your local team tournaments. Everyone doesn't like how one tournament's run, or like they lose money, so they start another one. So you had 100 boats over here. Now you split them up into 50. And what happens when you only have 50 boats here and 50 boats here, right? The money's not as good, correct? Well, this is what's happening in fishing. You had all this money in one thing, and then they split it. Well, now sponsor money has to go to this industry. Like, everyone has sponsor money. Every one of these companies we just talked about has a set of that they're budgeting out.
Yeah.
Well, now they have to budget out to how much they're going to budget out to the elites, how much they're going to budget out to BPT, how much they're going to budget out to tackle warehouse, how much they're going to take to BFLs. And so it all gets spread out. So there's probably more money being paid out right now ever in fishing. Ever. It's just spread out over, so like no one's making a ton. It's all being spread out over tons and tons of formats. So yeah, that's why the payouts aren't better. Think about this. Imagine if you took 100 of the best fishermen, right, and subtracted all those other things, and they're winning 100,000 over here at BPT, 100,000 at the elites, 100,000 at tackle warehouse. What if you just combined all that to one thing, took the top best guys? Now first place was winning 300,000 a tournament. Second place is winning. You could basically go down and triple the payout. But you know, guys want to be professional fishermen, and the only way to, like, they realize that guys like these guys out there fishing tournaments are going to pay that money, because most of them are still paying entry fees. So why not? Why not have, I mean, why not start a third one? Why not start a fifth one right now? Because guys will go pay that money to go fish for their own money.
This is a good one because I was involved in that. Doug R said all the major tours are still using 2008 as an excuse. So true. I've heard about 2008 for a long time. I don't know if I'm still hearing about it, but yeah, we heard about it for a long time.
I still didn't even comment about what I want to talk about. I want to go off on something so bad about.
Don't do it. Stay
okay.
On the positive. I saw some stuff. And like, it's just, I don't know if it's social media or the mob or, man, it's just so many people so negative. And it's like, dude, man, everybody I know fishes is like blue collar for the most part. We all just work, got good jobs, doing something, whether you in a ditch or laying pipe or something. And like, dude, you can afford a 4-wheel drive and a bass boat when you got a job. I mean, you know, it's like, you know, and somebody's like, it's just, it's everywhere. It's in social media. It's on Instagram. It's just, and then all these people just pile in. I'm like, yeah, that's the problem. Like, dude, life, like everything around us is that way.
Pete, listen, Louisville, like, I need to explain something to y'all. Ross Barnett, when we first got to Ross Barnett, I was getting 40, 50 bites a day on Ross Barnett. It was stupid. It was awesome. Like, awesome. I've been to Lake Louisville before. It's a freaking awesome lake. Like, I've caught them there. The second or third, I don't know which one it was. Me and Russell, we had a TXTT on Louisville. First time I'd ever been there. Or second, I don't know, we finished second with like almost 20 pounds or whatever we had. I don't even know what we had. 300 boats on there. Me and Russell finished second. Smoked on them. I get it. But Louisville with 220 or 30 boats on it for 9 days or whatever it was is not a great lake. And we don't like it because it doesn't fish well with 200. We never said Louisville is bad. It's just not meant for an open. And there's certain lakes that aren't meant for opens. Louisville is one of them. It's why the weights were other than a couple of the guys that kind of caught some, all fishing like staring at each other in one little bitty area, the weights were horrible. And that's why we don't like it. It's not that Louisville's a bad lake. It's just, it's not a good open lake. But yeah, all these lakes we go to, except the Red River, if I probably went to the Red River, I don't know. I don't know about the Red River, but almost everywhere else. Let me tell you, I hate the Arkansas River, for a big tournament. But dude, the Arkansas River, like in practice days and down in Kerr, oh my gosh. Dude, I have freaking had some phenomenal days down there. Like, it's fun. It's just not as fun it's not fun in a team, in an event where you're having to run. If you just went and fished Arkansas River for fun, so now I'm just going to go low down there in Kerr and go fishing, I'd probably go fish it every day. It's awesome. But if I have to go make a 40-minute run to a lock, sit in the lock with freaking 200 other guys, lock down there, have 3 or 4 hours to fish after running through everything, then come back to the lock, hoping the freaking worst lock master in the entire country lets you back through so you can get back to weigh-in. It ends up not being a very fun lake. Would you agree, Hallman? Like that's why it's not really on our radar of like, this is going to be fun. It turns into that. And, you know,
Kevin Burnett, I agree with Hallman. The industry has grown the field. I agree. It has. And I've been saying that. I told that to some people at Bass. I've told to my buddies at MLF that are owners. You know, the industry did it. The industry did it so that they could sell more boats and motors and tackle, right? I mean, that's why they wanted to get everybody involved in all the high school and college stuff. And they are selling more. They have to be. There's 800 kids at Rayburn for a high school tournament. They didn't go out there with a shiny hook and a minnow. So I do agree. And the question before that is the NPFL, should they really call themselves a pro tour? I get what your point is, but I 100% say yes. I mean, from my opinion, the schedule alone makes it a pro tour, right? It's a national schedule. They pay pro tour level entry fees. Todd and I both are advocates of NPFL and more opportunities, which goes back to what Kevin was saying. It's more opportunities because they've grown the sport. There's more guys wanting to be involved in it. Dude, they're just casinos. I mean, honestly, that's what they are. It's like, which casino do you want to sit down and play in? I mean, that's what Todd's always preaching at a state level, you know, and a regional level. Where's my best odds and where can I make the most without spending the least, right?
Right. Let me. Someone asked about this. Show it.
I agree, MJ.
No. Hold on. The lake's good. Okay. Well, we have the best stocking program in the country. We have the best people in the country that really look out for their like, we do a really good job down here in Texas. I mean, it is a really from Texas Parks and Wildlife. Like, we kind of get on Texas Parks and Wildlife about some things, but they do stock about as good as it is. So here's the other thing. I love this. Texas fails at it too. I got you on this one. Toledo, Amstead, Falcon. Which one of those are in Texas?
Say those again. Toledo Bend, Falcon.
Toledo Bend, Amstead, Falcon. Which one of them are in Texas?
Only half of each one of them.
Thank you. That's all I got to say. Toledo's shared with Louisiana, which is the worst state in the country about keeping fish and how they do everything. They're horrible about it. It's not, and here's the other thing. Toledo's not good, but one, they sprayed it all. We lost all the grass the first time because of floods. Okay. That's not Texas. So Texas didn't kill and flood thousands of people. They had to let water through it, which disrupted all the grass. That was how we lost the grass the first time, and the major time. It was the most water we had ever run through Toledo for months. We flooded everyone below us. It was a bad deal, right? It was just floods. That killed the lake because it pretty much ripped up every piece of grass in that lake. Rayburn didn't do that because Rayburn is not a lake that you have to keep level. It's a I can't think. I'm all scatterbrained. Anyways, it's allowed to fluctuate. So it got up to basically almost over the 10-foot thing. So it came up high and then it came down slow. So it didn't do it. Amstead and Falcon are freaking on the border of Mexico. Okay. Texas can't control what Mexico does with that water. So they drain it all. Right now, there is no water. If I'm about 100%, 99% sure, there's no water flowing from those lakes right now because the water is so far low because it can't go over the dam. Like the dam, the water is like, it can't go over. There's not enough water in the lakes. So there's nothing running underneath those things. It's not Texas's fault. It's because they haven't had rain in like 2 years. Like, we can't produce rain and then we can't control what Mexico does with their water. So that's not Texas. If you look at every other lake in Texas, they do a pretty good job. But once again, those are solely in Texas. These are not. We have to share that water. So that's why. Okay, I finally got up to the freaking.
Well, the questions they how they refresh. Like I'll be going through there, and then it's like I got to start over wherever I was at.
Well, I don't know how far down they are. I mean, there's that other. I don't know how to do that other deal where they put them up on top, but.
Mike Phillips, Bradley, are you looking forward to the Chesapeake Bay? I am. I've had some time off, and I've been working on all my. I'm a Google Earth guy. I like it, so I spent quite a bit of time. I'm excited to go there. There's lots of options. I think the fishing will be tough, but nothing like tough like Red River tough. But I think it'll be hard to get a bite.
I don't. Yeah. We won those. We won a couple doubles. Doubles were fun.
You want to read those off, Todd, so that because you won't be able on a playback. You know what I mean?
Yeah, they will. You don't think so?
Well, I guess you could potentially driving down the road.
I don't know. I've never seen it played back.
Right.
They were talking about the double victory of like winning 2 tournaments in the same day.
I did win a little money in Vegas. I actually walked out of there
ahead. I don't even know what he's talking about.
Did you win any money in Vegas? I did.
Where? Oh yeah, but you ever reading a different question? I don't even have on there. I can't even get down. Yeah, we won some. Yeah, don't mess with me on incentives, Frank. Dude, I got them down. I do have them down pretty good. Falcon. Heck yeah, I'm allowed to use baits for testing in tournaments. Heck yeah. That's like, I ain't gonna lie, that's the best thing about making prototypes, man. Is being the only one that has them. Like, it's freaking awesome. I'm not gonna lie. I don't even apologize for that. Oh, here. Did you? I want to apologize. Coing their series. So I did a Coing their series, but Hallman did the best one. Yeah, Hallman did an awesome Coing their series.
I just dropped one last week too, but man, it is a little bit like there's probably a little bit more that we could do on it, but we've got it covered pretty good between our two.
And let me tell y'all something too, and Hallman will agree with that. That is such the most touchy subject in the world. It is not easy for us to do those deals. It is because you got to. All I'll say is this: the perception, or it's not the perception. It's what certain guys think co-anglers are, and what other guys think co-anglers are. And there will never be. It will be black and white. There's no gray. And so you've got co-anglers that think that we are there, that they think that we are there to put them on fish for them to win tournaments. And then you got other co-anglers that think we're there. They just want to learn from us. And so if we don't do everything in our power to get this guy to catch a fish, and I was like, man, I can do that for you for $450 a day. It's called a guide trip. But in those events, I'm not there. Like, I wouldn't ask him for anything. Like, I wouldn't ask him for anything. Just like I would hope he wouldn't. When I say I hope he wouldn't ask me for anything, is like I don't need him to help me to catch a fish. And if I do horrible, it's not on him. It's on me. So those are just really hard ones to do.
All right. I don't want to butcher your name. John Kleinader. I think that's right, John. I may have butchered it to pieces. So if more tours grow the sport, and it's
how far down are you?
I don't know.
God.
So if more tours grow the sport, and it's a good thing, is 800 boats on a lake for high school derbies and 200 plus boats for an open, pounding a lake for weeks, a good thing? How much room for growth is there? Question mark. Dude, that is the ultimate question. And we've been talking about that for the last 6 years amongst other guys. I've gone blank. Kumar, I did a deal. Remember when we had the Costa meeting at Fork. How long ago was that, Todd?
With Mullins was there and
everybody. And we had a riders convention there for Costa on Fork.
Justin Lucas was there. Watson, yeah.
18 maybe. Does that sound about right?
I was with Costa.
So 5 years ago.
18 or 19?
5 years ago, John. Kumar gets in my boat. We're doing these little section deals, and Kumar, we're talking about, the sport. And I'm like, man, all I've heard since, I got in this thing since the early 2000s is like, grow the sport, grow the sport. And I'm like, down here in Texas, we got these 800 boat high school tournaments. Like, you look around and like, there's 1 million boats on every lake. How much more can we grow it? But right, that's like the industry. That's like what you hear at ICAST. I mean, it's all these people who've got all these companies. Dude, I'm 100% with you. Like, how much more can it grow? So you asked, I said, so if more tours grow the sport, that's not what I said. I said that more tours gave guys more opportunities because we have grown the sport that much. I'm not saying that more tours grow the sport, especially pro tours, like what we were talking about with NPFL. I'm just saying it gives guys more outlets because, I mean, obviously there's a thirst for it. I mean, you can just look around, but dude, I think you've got a great question there, John. I do. I do think this though. I'm not on the really left wing side of this deal. We're not laying fillet knives to these things. I mean, they are being released, and I'm sure there's somebody come on here and tell me about the 90% kill rate of smallmouth in August.
Oh, no. Here, okay. Okay.
We're not killing them. We're letting them go. So
So I thought about this for a second. This so the guy got up here. Is that the guy, same guy who asked the question?
John?
Yeah. Was it him?
Yes.
Man, well, I saw this one. I cannot wait to answer this one. John might have freaking double Jeopardy the freaking 2 best questions ever. So let me get on that. What I will say about going back to what you said, there's a guy, I'll give him a shout out too, Spencer Bass. I don't know. I'm a part of this group of Facebook or something, and he lives up there. I apologize for getting it wrong, but he lives up there, I think around St. Clair, Canada area, and they get pretty upset about like the elites coming. They don't like all these like tournaments so much on St. Clair and all these places, and he made a comment, and I never comment. I hardly ever comment on his Facebook post, but he put a Facebook post of going something about, what did he say? Something about, man, all these tournaments every weekend for 4 months up here. And I'm like, and I put it on there because he's cool with me and everything, but I put on there, yeah, dude, down here, get used to it, dude. We got that going on for 12 months out of the year. We got derbies every freaking weekend for 12 months out of the year. They're like, we're used to it. And he wrote back, baby steps, right? Like he's getting more and more used to it. But what happens is they have this idea of these fish dying in tournaments and all these different things, right? And they don't want to, this other side, I won't even say left or right, but this other thought of like, we need to protect our resources. We shouldn't be fishing during this time and this time and this time. I'm like, they got ice up there half the time anyways. I mean, it's hard to comment on something. And they talk about the fact that we stock things better. So let me, this is what I thought about. Just hear me out on this. You can disagree with this. I'm sure I'll get a bunch of comments. The elites show up. Okay. There's 80 of them, or not, just say 100 of them. 100 guys show up for 3 days, right? On your body of water for 3 days, and they're catching these smallmouth. Don't you agree? Like they're catching them in practice, a lot of them. Yep. So say they all caught 5 fish a piece. Okay. That's 5, just even in practice, a day, right? Right. So they each catch 5 fish a piece. That's 1,500 fish smallmouth they caught over 3 days of practice. And you're like, okay, well, so that's 1,500 fish that were caught and released. None of them happened to them. So they were 100% released, 100%. So is that better than having random guys from up north or whoever come out there and keep 5 fish a day from like these locals or whoever it might be? So you got the elites coming, they caught 15 fish. Those fish are now harder to catch than they were a while back. So they kind of help the resource. Would you not agree? Those fish are now a little bit harder to catch. Then the tournament rolls around and they only keep 5 a day, right? And I'd say at least 70% of them probably live. So now you got, and say they probably caught 25, some of them are catching 20-something fish a day, right? In the actual tournament. So there's a grand total of maybe 4,000 or 5,000 fish that are getting caught and put back in there that makes them harder to catch. No one else is going to catch them, right? Probably for a while. And they're actually just putting them back in the lake and makes it harder for. Now, you might not like the fact that it's harder for you to catch them, but as saving a resource, it's actually, how can you not argue that, like, if a whole bunch of people went out there and caught all those fish and just released them and they're all still living and they're harder to catch, makes it harder for locals to catch, guys are going to eat them and clean them and do all that stuff. I don't think it's that bad of a deal. It's just a different way to look at it. Does that make a little sense?
Yeah.
If you start putting numbers to it, it's pretty remarkable how many fish were caught and released. I want to talk, John, I've been waiting to make this comment publicly. I say it all the time. There's another one too. But pros. What call themselves a pro when only one is to write a check? I don't understand why you have NPFL on there. Please tell me and I'm not getting on you, John, but I just wish you had put it a lot more of you needed more letters. You needed NPFL, BPT, BASS, Tackle Warehouse. You needed all those on there to call themselves a pro. So I want you to think about this. You were right. Every NPFL person on there that's fishing NPFL, not one of them qualified to fish the NPFL. Not one, right? So that is how many guys fish the NPFL? Hallman?
They're right at 100.
So let's say 100 guys. Okay. Now, John, name one person on the BPT before this year that qualified for the BPT. Just name one. And I'll sit here all day long in silence because you won't name one. So 80 guys fished the BPT without qualifying. Now, I'm not saying they weren't qualified, and I'm not saying they're not the best fishermen in the world. You can say those are the best 80 fishermen ever that ever lived. I didn't say that. I'm saying it was invitation only. They were invited. They did not qualify. And I'm just saying this because he says when the only qualification is to write a check. Well, there was no qualification into the BPT. 180 guys now we're up to. Tackle Warehouse circuit. But when me and Hallman were there, or whatever it was called when we were fishing, the tour. Out of the tour, I would say, not saying that they didn't deserve there, I'm saying how many guys actually qualified for the tour and how many guys just wrote checks. So I would say less than half of those guys. Bass, when Bass first started, Hallman, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're not even going to get into that. When BPT split, Bass invited how many guys?
I don't know, but there was
30?
Something that's not talked about right now. But there's,
well, hold on. So like 30?
Saying no, there wasn't 30 invited.
Yes, there was. Yes, there was.
They brought over about, maybe it wasn't 30, dude. Maybe it was 20, 25. But
way more. Way more. I can count them.
Well, maybe you can, but there was a bunch of them that had, like the Johnston brothers, had never even fished a Bassmaster event in their life. So the very first,
and like I said, the Johnston brothers are killing it.
Yeah,
but I'm just telling you, they didn't qualify for it.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not saying they weren't. I'm going to say this again because I don't even want to look at the comments that are being said right now. I'm not saying they're not the best. I'm not saying they're not the best fishermen in the world and they're not qualified. Qualified as in maybe they should get on their terms. What I'm saying is they didn't qualify. They were invited. So you've got invitation only at NPFL, invitation only on BPT, and quite a few guys on Bass were invited. I know that's changing. That qualification is getting back in there. I'm just saying that a lot of guys are in a lot of pro tournament trails that they never qualified in for. Just saying.
MJ said NPFL is basically a high stakes poker game, but that's what Todd and I are saying. That's what they all are. They all are a high stakes poker game. Every one of them. Just which casino and which game do you want to play?
So, I mean, you know, I'm not knocking any of them. I'm stating a fact. Like I would love for BPT to come on here and like, you know, oh, you're a hater. I'm not a hater. I'm just telling, like someone asked, like it's a great question, but it's 100% true that they didn't qualify for that. Now, Dakota Ebear, our buddy, our other buddy, Ryan Ryan Salzman, Dakota Ebert, Cole Floyd, and Jeremy Lawyer. Those are the only 4 guys that have qualified for BPT. It's only guys.
Yeah, and you know that was supposed to be 10 guys, and somehow that got changed. You know,
And it won't be 10 again this year. I think it's going to be 6 because once Timmy Horton freaking retires, that goes back to a BPT guy. Justin Lucas makes it a BPT guy. Skeet Reese makes it another BPT guy. And Michael Neal makes it a BPT guy. So like 4 or 5 guys are going to hang on to the BPT because of double qualification, which I don't care if they do it that way. I'm not fishing it. So we all already knew that was going to happen. We knew that was going to happen 3 years ago. What's funny though, what's happening across the country and everything else, no one's going to get on here 3 years later and go, hey man, remember when you and Hallman and Andrew made some of those videos where y'all were all fired up and saying, this is what's going to happen. There's no way BPT can carry on and keep doing this without entry fees, and they're not going to make the qualifications. They're going to change it. But you notice how we don't ever hear comments that go, hey, you know, 3 years ago, y'all said all this, exactly the same thing. And man, y'all were right. It just easily forgotten.
Alfredo Torres said, I'm a Golden Nugget guy. That's a casino.
Yeah.
I'm a Golden Nugget guy too. That was one of the first trips I took to Vegas. My wife and my father-in-law took us when we were like 21, and we went and stayed there. It was great back in the day. I hate the way this thing skips and like you're reading and then it's just gone.
What do you mean? Are you reading the bottom?
I'm just in the middle.
Oh, you're so far down there, dude, and I'm still stuck at 10:04 comments.
Harry Estep wants to know if I would fish the Opens if I qualify for the Elite Series next year, or at least part of them. It would depend on the schedule.
I really wish you'd wait on me. I don't even know where you're at.
I keep skipping around on me. I can't keep up with anyone.
Man,
I'll get one. This was kind of as far as MLF and FLW and Bass, which was the better group? Which was our favorite?
Wait, say that again.
It's basically just wanting to compare between the different organizations and tours, and including FLW now that it's gone, compared to MLF and Bass. And I mean, dude, honestly, they've all got good points that maybe the other doesn't have, and then they've all got bad points that maybe the other doesn't have. So it's not like, you know, one of them's just. I think that's why you see the influx of all of the guys through all the years of fishing. I've been fishing. They've, you know, gone to FLW, gone to Bass, gone back to FLW. Now it's MLF, and you just see guys kind of swapping around, and it really just depends on each individual. And I think with time, things change and the tours change and the groups change. And so, you know, I wouldn't say that one's just way better than the other, but the golden question is Duckett actually going to cut himself? I think if he got in that pickle where there was no more exemptions or Skeet Reese's and those guys don't double qualify and he gets there, I don't think he'll have a choice. But they're going to stick as many guys as they can in that pro circuit to keep the double qualifications going, I'm sure. How many guys are leaving BPT to go back to the elites this through the opens? Man, I haven't heard. Obviously, there's a few this year that are trying. Cody Meyer. Poche, but it's not. And I haven't heard like there's just some big exodus next year. I haven't heard that at all. So guys are pretty happy. I've talked to a bunch of the guys like Cody Ebert. He's extremely happy, which I knew he would be when he was there. Todd kind of remembers that conversation we had. And I really told him I thought that it was a good place for him to stay.
Yeah.
He was just young, and it was just perfect for him. And he's doing really well with it.
I can I don't know. I can tell this story if you want me to. Two people have asked it.
What story are they asking?
About what's the Fat Todd story Luke Duncan won't tell. Real quick, we were at Daytona. Costa had a deal down at Daytona. And so it was a really cool deal, man. Me, Luke, my wife was there. David Mullins was there. Melinda was there. I can't think of all my buddy Russell. Anyways, it was a cool deal because we all got down there, and when they had the Daytona, it wasn't the Daytona 400. It was a short track deal or something. I don't know much about racing, but anyways, we got to drive. They had the Costa thing, and they have that lake down there in the middle of that racetrack. And so we were driving our coaster wrap boats, me and Russell, and we drive in circles around that lake in the middle of the freaking racetrack. Like, it was insane. Anyways, we got down, we did that for like all day long for like 2 days. We actually watched the race from our boats in the lake. They popped off fireworks. We were on the lake. It was wild, man. I can't, like, looking back, that was pretty cool how we got to that. Anyways, we were at this restaurant, and Darian Craig was there. He works for TH Marine with Luke and everything. And anyways, we were giving each other like a hard time. Like, we were like going back and forth at each other for like 2 days straight. Well, anyways, I didn't know he was really big on social media, or like, I didn't know that was his thing. And so as I was giving him a hard time about some drink he was drinking, like this little red drink. Anyways, he made it like, Luke was like, be careful, man. He can kind of get you on social media. And I was like, yeah, whatever. So anyways, he did. So he's like, he kind of played the little deal. Like, I'm not exactly a fat guy, right? I kind of work. I kind of stay pretty lean. Well, he starts video, like, since we're there eating dinner every night and eating and all this stuff, he just starts taking pictures of me constantly, just like right here, like with me eating. Right. Like, I'm not even paying attention to it. Like, he just takes pictures when I've got something in my, like, and he puts on there Fat Todd, like hashtag Fat Todd. And that's all he did for like and then Luke did it, and they just started spreading like Fat Todd, and they just wrote stories about this fictitious, and then people didn't know who they were talking about either. And so they were like, yeah, Fat Todd, he's this like 400-pound fisherman y'all probably never heard of. Anyways, it just stuck. And like, it got to be like, I embraced stuff like that. It didn't matter. But that's what it was from. It started from there. And then he wanted to see how much they could make that grow into a thing. And I'll be honest with you, if you like, they made it grow. Yeah. It's amazing what you can make grow. So,
especially nicknames. One of the guys on here asked why I wasn't invited to the elites in that transfer. Obviously, this is just speculation. I don't know the full answer. I've heard some of the conversations that were had during that time frame. There's a lot to it, and I'll make it as short as I can. But in the beginning, I was at the FLW tour, and well, we all were. But MLF was the first one to go off, and when they decided to get to 80, obviously they knew they're 40 or 50, right? But they still had 30 places there. There was a lot of politicking going on. There was a lot of emails being sent, people wanting in, this and that and the other. And I did not get involved in any of that. I never sent an email, never made a phone call, never nothing. Just let them ride, right? And there was guys accepting and turning down stuff. At the time, FLW looked like it was going to be strong, and it was fine. And that was the assumption I went off of. And I didn't think anything different above it. And then Bass kind of went into their panic that they needed guys. And then the emails and stuff really started flying, and guys were politicking, emailing people at Bass, the brass up there, saying, "Hey, we want in if there's a spot. I'd love to have it." Da, 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 da. I was told by numerous people, "Hey, if you want to go over there, this is who you need to send the emails to." Once again, I did not politic. I didn't say a word. I didn't put my. I again thought FLW is still going to be all right. I mean, now it's looking good because, like, here's all these Czech guys leaving. Hell, let them leave. And that's really what I thought. And I wasn't the only one. There was a few of us that thought the same thing.
That Bass was gonna.
Did FLW? You know,
the one. I'll tell you real quick, Hallman. I was probably in that group. Like, this is before anything had happened. Like, we really weren't sure of anything. I remember Russell going to the Classic that year, and he came to me and he said, "Todd, it ain't going nowhere." And I said, he goes, "Man, the amount of people that walk around." Now, I don't know about this in 20 years from now, but so what I was saying about earlier, how there was one brand, it was Bass. And the amount of people that have a Bass Master logo hat or a shirt that has Bass on it, and the subscriptions to magazine. And y'all are going to laugh at me now when I say this. I get it. Bassmaster magazine, right? No one probably even reads that anymore. I hate to say that. Like, who reads newspapers, anything like that, right? It's all this. Right. But that was a couple years ago, and this has grown into what it is now. But that older, I wouldn't say the older generation, but it was the first time in our sport that I realized that an organization will hold you more than the actual star. And I don't think that that's true with most. Like, because I just thought it was Kevin. I thought wherever Kevin landed, that would be the place. I really did. I'm not gonna lie. It'd be like Tiger Woods when Tiger was like on top of his game, or Jordan when he was on top. Like, if Jordan left the NBA and went somewhere, I think everyone goes there with them, like even the fans. But this was one of the few times where I was wrong on that. Like, they didn't necessarily follow Kevin and them over there. They,
I knew all that was going to happen, you know. And then so, like, my situation and Todd's situation too, you know, by that spring, it was obvious that some things were going to change and FLW was going to struggle, but everybody had already moved and everything was done and final placed before the writing was on the wall. And then the writing really wasn't on the wall until MLF and the merger came, that they were going to purchase FLW. And then that's when, you know, guys really had to make decisions on what they were going to do. And by that point, all the spots were filled at the other two places, you know. And like I say, there was a lot of politicking going on there. And I just never got involved in it. Believe me, after the last 2 years in the Opens, there's a lot of me wishing I'd have picked up a telephone and sent some emails. But at the time, I didn't think that all this was going to happen.
Danny, if you're wondering what we were thinking about all the Elite Series, I know Hallman and Andrew did a live video with Hank Weldon, and then I did one too about 2 days apart. So I think if you go look on either one of our YouTube channels, you will. Both those videos did extremely, extremely well. And I don't think there's a single thing in there that between one or two of us, it did not go over. So go check those out if you want. You know, Frank's over here getting into the whole electronics thing and stuff. And I mean, we've been beating a dead horse on that, and yet they're still on it. You know, I don't know I don't even know. We can go back and forth on that electronics thing. It's not going away anytime soon. It might be closer to going away now than what I thought a year ago. I think there's a chance it could at some point in time, but I don't know if it is. But I mean, I'll put it to you this way. It has changed. I've heard some different takes on the forward-facing sonar stuff about how the good fishermen are still on top. That's not true. There's been some guys that totally have made it their bread and butter and have risen to the top, and then it has hurt some other guys big time. And I can't, you know what you don't hear anymore? You don't hear anyone talking about their electronics. If they are, they're kind of just saying it, but you don't hear anyone talking about side imaging. You hear about it a little bit, but not as much. I mean, 90% of the talk you hear is forward-facing sonar in all these tournaments.
It's not just having it that you catch them. I'm not going to use this name, but a friend of mine called me tonight, and I hadn't heard from him in, I don't know, a year maybe. Good friend of mine. He fishes on the Bass Pro Tour, and he is a legend. I mean, he is a Hall of Famer without a shadow of a doubt. It ain't even close. He's one of the top Hall of Famers, and he is beside himself, sick with his tournament results and the live scopes, right? And just, I mean, he's got options to run anything he wants to run and do anything he wants to do. And just because you got them don't mean you catch them. Like Todd said, those guys have gone all in on some of that, and they're just better with them.
Yeah, but it's we can't sit here and say that it is they are. Yes, they don't make you catch every fish, but I'll put it to you this way: how hard there are certain lakes like I don't. I'm going all over the place. I can't even get it out. I remember talking to a local down here that wins a lot, and I remember Brian Thrift saying the same thing with 360. He said when 360 was first coming out in live scope, none of this was around. He said if I was fishing a major tournament and at 11 o'clock my 360 went out, I would drive back to the service yard and have him fix it before I'd make another cast.
Yeah.
Now, I don't think y'all understand how hard it is to go 3 minutes without casting during a tournament of one of those big events. He's willing to take everything he's got. That's how important he thought 360 was. I promise you, there are guys that feel the same way and would do the same thing in these tournaments. So that statement alone should make you think about how important it is for some of these guys. And we don't always have to use it, but there are times when, like, there's not a single guy, every guy in the top 10 at Oahe where they're going, and I guarantee you every guy right now in the Toyota Championship right now or the Tyco, whatever it is it the Tyco Warehouse Championship going on at St. Lawrence? Dude, like 90% of them are using LiveScope in some way, form, or fashion. So I mean,
that was a good quote. You still have it on the screen.
What?
Did you take it down? Yeah, you already took it down. The be not quote.
Yeah. It's just, you know, it is what it is, man. And the only thing that I like, listen, LiveScope's pretty cool because what I think LiveScope's cool was what they should do. I always liked this one. Now, I always loved listening to these guys when they were fishing the old elite events, and they'd sit up there in their boat and they were catching fish, and they would tell you what's going on underneath the water. Oh, these fish are moving up and down this ledge, and they're doing all these things. And I used to sit there and go, that dude has no idea what he's talking about. They might be doing that, but he really had, like, we don't know what's really going on underneath that water. And I used to, like, me and Russell used to always get in these conversations where, you know, you catch them in practice and then you wouldn't in the tournament, or things would go on like, do you think those fish just didn't bite, or where did they go, or what happened, or all these different things. Like, LiveScope shows you now 1,000 times more about what's really going on underneath the water. Doesn't mean you can catch a single one of those fish, but I mean, how many times would you go by like a brush pile or something, or you wouldn't realize that there might be 20 fish sitting on 20 stumps, and you went and flipped all those stumps, and you're going, dude, they left me. But if you have live scope, you're like, no, I just saw 20 fish follow my jig down and not eat any. Not one of them ate. But back in the day, we would have just thought they left. When now we're like, nope, they just didn't bite. But I just always laughed at those guys that would like give this great eloquent thing about what these fish did back 10 years ago. Dude, 90% of them were wrong. Like, we didn't know what they were doing. They were just guessing. But do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
But it does help. Like, it doesn't help in everything we do. Like, me and the Hallman still fish a different style. We can do live scope, but we still will make a lot of money over the next 10 years. And if you took live scope away from us, we would still be fine.
Oh, we'd be.
And there's a lot of like,
I know guys are always, like the guys that comment to me, it's like on YouTube or something if I'm doing something, because I do work with Garmin, and they're like, you'd never catch a bass, and I'm like, dude, y'all don't know me very well. We can rip a ball off, and I can stick a pole in the bottom. I like to
yeah.
net finder.
I mean, Ross Barnett would like, dude, I never even turned one on at Ross Barnett, right? And we both did fairly good at Ross Barnett. I mean, and that's the one thing I'll say is that we got really good over the years. And this is something that the younger generation, it's almost impossible for them to get this. And it's not their fault. I'm not knocking them. But that younger generation will not go to the great lengths that we had to go to. Not because we wanted to, but we had to, of looking at shorelines, looking at things on the water, learning trees, learning what certain stumps look like and knowing what tree that was, watching dirt change, watching rock change, and learning how to fish that way, of driving up and down a lake for 20 miles going, and then just start picking spots out that look like pattern stuff and fishing that kind of stuff. Because, and it's not their fault, but I know so many guys now, young guys, that go, they don't know any of that. And they're getting really good at live scope though.
Yes, they
but
are.
It's going to, they better learn real quick that they better get the other side of it too. Like, you better learn both ways, or I think you're going to get in trouble a lot of times, in certain fisheries. I mean, look at like, what's funny is Christy is really good with, I think he just dropped a video about smoking on him on live scope. That dude doesn't need live scope.
No, but he's good with it.
True, but he doesn't need it.
No, I'd actually heard people make comments about how, man, I'm glad he won the classic old school. He won it old school. I'm like, dude, did you watch him in the mornings? Because he was live scoping in there every morning, and then he went to flip docks. So I don't know, but I don't know. Let's get off that subject.
I'll say one more thing. Like
a horse, I'm sick of that one. Like,
I am too. I didn't want to get into it. The smallmouth deal though is like I don't think you can win a tournament without live scope anymore. Smallmouth is all I'm gonna say. I'm so glad
how they're set up. Some places it's a no brainer. There's no way to do it, and there's some places, it just depends on how they're set up. You couldn't do it at Oneida. Those guys weren't live scoping those smallmouth. I'm not saying that they didn't catch one or two, but like, they weren't looking at the fish. Now, they were using live scope probably to find the grass edges and stuff like that, but they weren't just looking at the fish. Not every one they caught. Nope.
Yeah.
It depends on how the lake sets up.
Oh, hey, I've never talked to you about this. I never used Hydrowave. It might work or it might not, but I've never felt the need to try it. LOL. We might end on this one because it's getting pretty late. But you got any thoughts on
the Hydrowave? When it very first came out, before it was the Hydrowave, when the company Rattle Trap owned it, they were at Grand, and Larry Ray and I, and Larry, we'll try anything. And it was a Nichols Championship too. This guy was up there peddling them, and it's $500 back then, and we were just fishing team tournaments. And Larry's like, "Hell, if it just catches us one or two, it's worth it." And I'm like, "All right." And he's like, "We'll just split it. We'll just change it between our boats, So we bought one, and the next day we went out. We caught like 5 or 6 fish around the keepers around this one dock, which was a good dock. That's why we'd gone down there, but like, we'd never caught that many off of it. And so we were convinced it was that gurgling clock, but I don't know. You know what I mean? Like,
here's what
now.
Okay. Here it is. Here's the deal with Hydrowave. And I actually, so Hydrowave, no, someone asked me, like, can you tell me exactly how, if a Hydrowave works? No, but I can just tell you stories. And that's all I can say. So I remember the first time I ever used it on Rayburn. I was up by 147 when it had grass, and I was just going down throwing grass, and it was dead calm. Okay. Now I've fished grass a long time, my entire life, just about. I'm going down, and it's clear as can be. And it was deeper grass. When I say deeper grass, it wasn't like I was sitting in 2 foot of water. I was sitting in like 6. And I look, and you don't, like, I'm just telling you on Rayburn, you don't see this ever. I've never seen this to this day. This 5-pounder is like hauling butt away from like the matted grass, and I see it, and it runs all the way up to my boat, like a foot underneath the water. And it's not like the grass wasn't, it could have gone deeper, but it stayed on top, and it runs out all the way to the boat within like 2 foot of the boat, and was looking around and like looked at me. And I'm looking down at it, and I go, I've never seen that before in my, it was the first day I ever used it. I said, I've never seen that before in my entire life. And I've yet to ever see that again. It was the first day I ever used it. So that day, I caught 2 doubles on a topwater. So I'd catch one, right? And I'd be fighting it, and I'd have another one on. And these weren't schooling fish. These were single. I throw out there, and I'd been catching them that way forever. I never caught a double in like a month, right? And I catch one, and then later on that day, I catch one, a 2-pounder. I get it all the way to the boat. There's no grass around me, and I'm fighting this fish. You know how it's a 2-pounder. You know how a 2-pounder will make a run every once in a while.
Right.
Like it'll just for a second, it'll like pull hard right by the boat, and it did that. And all of a sudden, I'm like, what the? And I get, there's a 6-pounder on it now too. And I'm like, wait a minute. So I catch 2 doubles. That, for the next 6 months, I can't tell you how many times I caught doubles on random baits that had trebles. Like, I'd catch them on, catch them on crankbaits and stuff, but I was catching them on weird stuff. And then I remembered, I'm like, gosh dang, these fish are really schooled up. So in the sense of, I'd go out there and I'd like catch 5 or 6 in a row out of the grass on cast. And it's kind of not the normal. And I'd sit there and go, why? Like, God, these fish are really schooled up. So, and I've never, and like, no one else was saying that was a big deal. Like, no one else was talking about that. So like, all that year was there. I went to Amstead in that tournament where I think I came in second in a Toyota, and Brent was with me. I don't know how many fish I caught right underneath the boat, or I caught one. I had a 5-pounder explode in between the trolling motor and my in the nose of my boat. And so
legend has it that fish still follows you right.
Yeah. So here's the last one too. So that same year, we had a Toyota Coastal Championship on Kentucky Lake, and I had my Hydrowave down there. And that was the first year the Alabama rig come out. So Paul Ice had just done the Alabama rig thing, and then the next big tournament was that championship in November on Kentucky Lake. Like, the entire field was throwing Alabama rigs because they were going and paying like $50 out of this. Like, they were selling two per person. Anyways, I never went and got one. I caught them all on his freaking chatterbait the whole time I was there. It was a 4-day event. For 3 days, I got to use my boat with the chatterbait with the Hydrowave on it. Okay. And I was catching all these, like, they were little schools of fish, like shad would flicker, and I'd throw in there and like hop this chatterbait off the bottom and catch a fish. And I was catching like 15 to 20 a day doing that. And I think I was like one of 2 people in the top 10 that weren't throwing an Alabama rig. I caught 13.5 pounds a day for 3 days in a row. That's what I caught every single day. Made the top 10. The final day, they made you use a Ranger, right? They made you go back to like, and I begged and pleaded, please give me, like, let me put my Hydrowave on there. And they would not let me put a Hydrowave on there. And so I went out there that day. I caught 6 fish for 11 pounds. And I saw like, I would have him like shad flicker and get all, antsy and do all that. And I would throw in there. I almost saw none of that day. It was my worst day. It was the only day I didn't have a hydro wave. I have more and more stories about that, but that's all I'm going to say is I can't tell you that it works. I just have a lot of stories where I saw things that happen that I've never seen happen without a hydro wave.
And I will second that. That is exactly, like, I can't prove it. I can't tell you anything, but I just saw things that weren't normal. One of the guys on here, this is pretty cool. I don't know if I've heard this, or if I have, I've forgotten it probably. And I forgot where it was even at. So I'm just going to kind of try to verbatim repeat it. But he said something about a guy that lived by him or around him, fished a lake, by a local lake there, that he drug a chain in the water, and he said that it attracted fish. And dude, I'm just telling you, from watching fish behavior, it might.
Oh, hold on.
Different sound, and like they would hear it and feel it, and it may get their curiosity up. Like, that is a possibility.
I forgot about this stupid thing. Okay. So, because one of the guys from Oklahoma and this other guy's from Alabama in that same tournament, I'll never forget this. So on day one, I started in one of these creeks where all these fish were schooling, right? And the fish had moved because we had a cold front. So like all these fish had left, and there was only like this one little area where they were schooling. Like a couple of them came up, and I power pulled down, and I want to say, God, no, I forget his name. Is from Oklahoma. You know him. He pulled up somewhat next to me. Like, it was totally fine. Like, our baits would barely land. Like, he was way far away. I was right here, and we were throwing in this like little 2-foot area where there was like a fish kind of swirling here and there. So but it's day one. Like I was smoking on him in practice. So I'm like, no big deal. So I'm throwing out there, and he's catching them. I'm catching them, like catching a couple, right? We can tell like it froze that night. So like fishing was not good. You could already tell, right? So I end up catching like 5. And I'm like, I said, hey man, I'm out of here, man. Good luck. He's like, no big deal. I've got 4. I'm going to leave when I catch my 5th one. I said, cool. I left fish for like an hour, right? Because I knew how to catch these bigger ones out in like 4 and 5 foot. I didn't know they weren't going to do good, but I went out there, fish for an hour. I'm all out there, throwing around. I never catch one. And I'm like, God dang, this is going to be one of those tournaments. So I trolled back, and he's still there. And I'm like, God dang, man, the guy didn't leave. Like, I thought he was going to, we kind of thought, hey man, I'm going to catch 5. We're going to save him for tomorrow. I pulled back up there, and I'm like, hey man, you still here? He's like, I'm still trying to catch number 5. And I was like, are you serious? He's like, I haven't had a bite since you left. So I pulled up, power pull down, I dropped my trolling motor, I idled up, dropped the trolling motor, power pulled down, almost never got on the trolling motor, turned on power wave, the hydro wave's kicking for about 30 seconds. Boom, I see him. He sets the hook. He's like, dude, you're my good luck charm, man. As soon as you pulled back up, I caught one. So I catch 2 more. He catches 2 or 3 more, and then we leave. Now, I didn't say nothing to him, right? And I didn't really think much about it. But he was like, God, it's crazy. I've been here for an hour, and all of a sudden, like, as soon as you pulled up, I caught one. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. Because I didn't really want to tell nobody about it. So later on like day 2, because it was a 4-day event, on day 2, I'm rolling down the bank, and I had this co-angler. Oh, I didn't have a co-angler yet. So anyways, I'm rolling down the bank, and you know how like I cross paths with a dude, right? And I go on the outside of him. He stays on the inside. And I'm like, hey, how you doing? He's like, oh, pretty good. And it's kind of tough, right? Next thing I know, he bows up and catches this fish. I'm like, gosh dang it. Because if I just beaten him, it was just a random spot down the bank. And he catches a fish, and I'm like, and he's like, I got one. I'm like, oh, awesome, whatever. And I don't get he makes another cast and catches another one. And I'm like, dang. So I get past him, and, because we were going opposite directions, and he's just casting at the same spot. So I keep going, and I catch my fish. Well, that was a cut day for day 3. The co-angler I was going to draw the next day, I talked to him, which I've never done this before, but I talked to him, and he was like, but people were leaving, right? So there wasn't a lot of people hanging around. He's like, yeah, you want to go eat? This is my coin for the next day. I said, yeah, man. Like, let's go eat lunch. Let's go eat dinner. So me and him, he's from Alabama. We hooked up, went and ate dinner. When we're at, he's like, I got a buddy coming. So his buddy comes and we all eat dinner. And the guy was like, hey, what's up, man? And I didn't recognize him. I'm like, hey, he goes, that was you today. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, we passed each other. Remember I caught those 2 fish? I'm like, yeah. I was like, dang, man. So you here for the cut? He's like, no, I missed the cut. I did horrible today. I'm like, are you kidding me? You just, like, I saw you catch 2. He goes, it's only 2 fish I caught all day. I said, do what? He goes, yeah, man. It's weird, man. As soon as you, like, just you passing by, and when you pass by, I caught that. Well, of course, my trolling motor's in the water. My hydro wave's going. It's the only 2 fish he caught all day. And I'm sitting here talking to that other guy, the guy from Oklahoma. He didn't hardly catch another fish for the rest of the day. It was only when I was around him and that guy too. And I'm sitting here going, and I told him, I said, dude, I have a hydro wave. He said he went and bought one the next day. He said, he goes, there's no way that could have happened.
One question.
Yeah.
Do you have one mounted on your boat today?
Not at the moment. No.
Why?
I don't know. And I'll say this, because I'm an idiot, even when I talked to Kevin at ICAST, like, we got in a lengthy discussion about it. And
you're going to make me go out. So I think this isn't garage brand new box. And I think I'm going to.
Yeah. So Kevin doesn't, this isn't Kevin.
Terrible.
Yeah, this isn't Van Damme or nothing. I mean, when I say this isn't Van Damme, this isn't him on camera. This is me and him behind closed doors, and we were talking about baits and all these. And the hydro wave got brought up, and he said, "I got one. I got a new one for you. I'm gonna send it to you." He said, "Put it on there." And I said, "If you ask, dude, there's no one around. He's not trying to sell one." I was like, "Hey, man, like, how good do you think?" Now I already know it's good. I said, "How good do you think it is?" He's like, "Dude, I'll never go anywhere with that one, ever." He said, "I'm not saying it's going to work all the time." He's like, "There are certain situations where it is freaking automatic."
Yeah. All right, dude. We gone long. We gone real long.
Yeah, we were supposed to go like 45 minutes today.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even supposed to. This was random too.
It was. I'm tired. I did BTL this morning too. Like, I'm tired talking about fishing.
I gotta go. I gotta go fish with a buddy of mine who, anyways, he's done pretty good in some Toyotas, and he's like live scoper, and we're not going for that. We're just going fishing. He's dating. It's a long story, but anyways, yeah, he's a younger kid in college. We're gonna go fishing tomorrow. I might be the one time I was like, hey, dude, I might just let you run my boat, and I'm just going to hang out and watch. I want to see what he does. I'll probably end up freaking getting tired of it and say, get out of the way. I want to go do this. Nick, I got you covered. I got one for you. Nick's getting the shallow hybrid hunter. Nick's a part of my freaking private group. And I forgot what it was about, but he did something, and it was, whatever he did was really good. And I was like, hey, man, whatever. I forget what it was, but I was like, man, I'm sending you a hybrid hunter. I think because he asked. He was the only one that asked for one. I said, yeah, I got a shallow one. I'll give it to you. So
there was only one question on there that we didn't get to tonight, and I remembered it. And
I remembered it too.
I was wondering, why would he ask that? He wanted to know who would win a arm wrestling contest between you and me. And I'm thinking, dude,
I'll put it to you this way. On most days, I would win. If Hallman was fired up, I would lose in a heartbeat. If the Sooners lost a game and we arm wrestled, I promise you, my arm would break. He would break my arm. I think I could. Hallman finds something deep down inside, and I'm telling you, he would break my arm.
He's lying to y'all. I'm 6'5" and I weigh 230, and that dude goes from barefoot and jumps in his boat 2 feet like doing Adrian Peterson workouts. I'm talking about with it sitting on a trailer, guys.
Dude, and I'm telling you, Hallman would pick up a vehicle if the Sooners lost that day, and he got to freaking ranting around about it.
I got that big brother intimidation in on him, and that's about it. I'd be good. My first 5 seconds would be straight fury, but then after
and I would lose, in about 2 seconds.
Shit. All right, let's go to
he'd be beating my arm like this, doing this at the same time. And I'm not even a Texas longhand, and he'd still be doing it to me just to do it. Go to bed. I'll holler at you later.
All right, Bubba. Appreciate it.
See y'all guys.
Watching.